Hi everyone, my name is Dana Brown-Jones, and for my research presentation, the topic that I chose was anti-slavery societies in America. And I chose this topic because I think that it's really great that people took action for something that they believed in against something that they did not believe in. And they rallied people who had the same beliefs to change the way that America views slavery and human labor in general today. So I believe that this topic relates to African American history heavily because slavery was such a big part of history, and these societies really helped pave the way to finding an end to it. So jumping right in with the beginning of slavery in America. So slavery started in 1619, and unfortunately, it did not end until 1865 with the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery. The first slaves were brought over from Africa and were forced to leave their homes and become slaves in America. And as time went on, slavery steadily gained popularity and continued until the first anti-slavery society was founded in 1688. Some of the people that were responsible for starting these anti-slavery societies were the Pennsylvania Quakers. And the Pennsylvania Quakers really had a big impact. They were really the ones that started to form these societies, and they are comprised of members of the Religious Society of Friends, which is a branch of Christianity. And these Quakers later went on to create the Pennsylvania Society for the Abolition of Slavery in 1775. So one of the most popular societies in that is most well known is the American Anti-Slavery Society, and this was started by William Lloyd Garrison and Theodore Dwight Weld. So William Lloyd Garrison, who is on the left, he was an abolitionist, a journalist, and a social reformer. And then Theodore Dwight Weld, who's on the right, he was an anti-slavery crusader in the pre-Civil War era. And these two were very successful with the creation of the American Anti-Slavery Society, but they would eventually split because they did not have the same views. Some key points of the American Anti-Slavery Society is it was really successful, as I said, because the total membership ranged from 150,000 to 200,000. And what's really great is, of course, because Black people were slaves, it was never seen as Black people being the head of anything. So this society actually had 6 Blacks that served on the first board of members. And these meetings often featured freed slaves, and some of their guests were Frederick Douglass, William Wells Brown. So the American Anti-Slavery Society formally split in 1870 after the Civil War and Emancipation, which I explained earlier. And although it unfortunately split, this still paved the way for other societies that we have today that are against racism, against, sexuality that's positive in positive ways. So I chose this quote from Frederick Douglass that reads, "If there is no struggle, there is no progress. Those who profess to favor freedom and appreciate agitation are men who want crops without plowing up the ground, and they want rain without thunder and lightning." So I chose this quote because while the Black slaves were not given fair lives, it is also recognized that without these hardships, things would go unknown. Many times you have to go through the darkness to see the light. And I think this was a really great quote from Frederick Douglass because, of course, we all know he was a slave and he came out of that successfully so that he could shed light onto the situation and inform people. So for this research, I think it really impacted me much more than I thought it would, because you hear of so many people that have tried to get rid of slavery, right? But It's very surprising that these societies were forced formed by white men, but they also incorporated the Black man so much into them, and they gave them such a safe space that they could really express themselves and feel comfortable, which I think is extremely empowering, and how society should be today. We should always have an outlet for people who feel like they are trapped, especially how the slaves felt. And I think there's no reason to shut people out because of their skin tone, their gender, their religion, their sexuality. I think we should all find it in ourselves to be accepting of one another and not segregating any certain type of person because of those things. So that is all for my presentation. Thank you.